expert opinions on how a virus works.
I'd like to call our 2021 annual meeting of our membership to order. And I'd like to welcome all of you and appreciate your participation in the last 3 days and especially right now as we reflect on 2020 and what's happened since then and how we've advanced forward with the help of JJ and his team and all of our board members. Well, it's been challenging. It's been a good year. We expanded our programs. There have been additional virtual council meetings, webinars, and also member-only content via Paradigm. So hopefully you're getting a lot out of Paradigm in this format. I think it's really a very effective communication methodology. So yeah, please pass along any comments to JJ and team about Paradigm. The 10th annual antibiotic symposium was a success. We saw a 48% increase over participation from 2019. So that grew from 109 in 19 to 162 in 20. That's really been an impactful symposium for many people, and we love to see it continue to grow. We welcome new members and are building our list of partners who go above and beyond in their terms of in their ways of supporting NIAA. With their content, with their participation, with their financial support, all the ways that our members really engage and bring so much to our association. The board engaged in a modified strategic planning session this past fall. We began a hybrid meeting on October 1. So that was really our first session to really go through how we could engage more in our planning and really look at some steps and milestones to advance us forward. So we worked over the next 90 days to reaffirm our vision and mission, and while adding guiding principles and setting our strategic priority areas for 2021. So that was an effective exercise and really got us on track to have some very specific milestones and achievements to really be guided toward and to meet the objectives that we set out. The board continues to see the power of NIAA being member and council driven programs and initiatives. So those certainly have an impact on our association, as they always have, and we want to continue to engage and bring that forward for the future as we do. We do look forward to growth. We do look forward to our purpose continuing to grow and the messaging getting around to more and more people in the areas that we're focused on. So highlighting the need for greater innovation in technology and animal agriculture is one of our new initiatives for 21. And secondly, advanced professional development for animal agriculture leaders is a second one. So those initiatives, the need for greater innovation in technology and the advancement of professional development in both cases for our agricultural leaders. So we're looking forward to continuing to ensure that we are mission driven with our programs in our initiatives. And I again thank all of you for your membership and your role in the association, and we look forward to your input and insight as we move forward. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chelsea Good for our financial report.
Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate that. And I want to echo some of the comments that Kevin had about the association, because I think they carry over into what we're going to hear in terms of our financial status. First, the good news is we are on solid financial ground, and I think that that is even better news if you think about what we've gone through in 2020. We went through a management change, which does have some costs associated with it. But in doing that, we were able to navigate that change, handle some of those costs in terms of accountings and transition, and set our association up for a lot more growth in the future. So that was a big win in 2020 that happened really early on in January and February. And then we got to March. And I think March of 2020 is going to be a time period that none of us are ever going to forget. But I am just so pleased with the ability NIAA showed to pivot to virtual meetings. It might not be everybody's preferred method, but we were able to make some adjustments there in order to continue to have an annual meeting in 2020 and now here again in 2021. So I want to thank our volunteer leaders and our staff management team for how well they've navigated that transition, the COVID challenge, shifting to virtual, and echoing some of what Kevin has to say, going through a strategic planning process to really set NIAA up for growth. From a financial standpoint, one thing I really wanted to highlight is a piece that was in the annual report on page 7 that just kind of laid out what our funding sources are with NIAA. We are a 501c3 nonprofit association, and we're not a huge association. We work on a shoestring budget, and we've been able to do that really well. And so really appreciate these sources of funding. And I think that there's something that we're going to have to continue to foster in the future. Sponsorships, appreciate all the sponsors of NIAA in this meeting. It's 9.5% of the funding sources for the association. We have 12.2% that come from event registrations and educational resources. 37.3% comes from dues. And I think that this is an area, if you look at the strategic vision, that we anticipate continuing to grow. We think that we are positioning this association to be the place to go to have hard conversations. And we've exhibited that ability on topics like antimicrobial resistance and traceability. The more we can continue to grow that membership, the more success we're going to see. And so that's a challenge I'd give to all of us that are here at this annual meeting. Think about a person or two that's not yet involved in an NIAA that should be, and encourage them to join. And then our final revenue source is grants and checkoff investments, and that comes up to 41% of NIAA revenue. So if we look at those things and the way we've managed through the last year, I'm pleased to report that we stand on solid ground and feel like we really have a lot of potential moving forward. I don't know, Kevin, JJ, if we want to ask for any questions or hold, people can ask questions whenever.
Sorry about that. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please go for it. And have time for 1 or 2 questions, comments. Last chance. Okay, Chelsea, go ahead.
Well, that kind of concludes what I had in terms of a financial report, but know that we remain available to have conversations if anybody has questions or things they think of after the fact.
Great job, Chelsea. We appreciate all you do for our association, and we've got such fantastic board members. I just really think they were just really fortunate to have the type of talent and commitment from each of you, and thank you for that report. So as Chelsea mentioned, as we made a change in management last year, and I guess slightly before that, we brought on JJ and his team, and we'll have him give a executive director's report now. and then we'll follow that with any quick questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon for this annual meeting. And actually, I'd like to also say thank you for your membership and belief in NIAA. You know, to speak for our team, we take it very seriously that you entrust us to carry out the work of your organization. You know, Kevin talked about the board of directors coming together last fall to reaffirm the vision and mission, and that was fantastic for us because. As one of my friends used to say, that gives us the guardrails of what we need to be doing day in and day out so that we can make sure we're achieving the mission of the organization and providing materials, resources, educational opportunities, and other services that make being part of the National Institute for Animal Agriculture ideally beneficial to you as an individual in your own professional and personal growth, but also for your organization or your sector of animal agriculture. So I see a lot of familiar faces on the screen. Many of you I've had the opportunity to work with throughout our careers. And then I also see a lot of new faces. And I would say, like many of us, 2020 was obviously a unique year. And one of the things that is extremely unique in my realm of association management is working with leaders, whether that be our board of directors, our council co-chairs, other volunteer leaders throughout the year. Many of you who I've never actually met face to face. We have only interacted via Zoom or phone calls or email exchanges. So obviously we definitely knew we needed to respect the guidance of our public health officials throughout the year, but I am sure ready to get back to those hallway conversations and getting to know each and every one of you on a more personal level, because that's really, as we continue to see what drives activeness and activity levels within an association like NIAA. Yes, it's the education and the knowledge and the collaborative spaces to work on tough issues like Chelsea mentioned, but it's also those networks and those personal relationships that we can foster. So we look forward to doing that. And so one thing I would like to do is make sure you know who our team is. And so while Roots and Legacies is the company we work with that serves as your professional management association firm, we can call on several other folks to come to the table when needed for specific projects or activities. There's really 4 of us that work on your behalf on a daily basis. And so joining me are Morgan Young. So Morgan will have to turn her camera back on. She's busy keeping track of everything, but Morgan really leads our communications efforts on your behalf. So making sure that as materials are developed or as there's information to convey, whether it's to members or partners and other stakeholders, ideally that we're doing that in a great fashion. That does allow the NIAA voice to be part of these very important conversations and decisions that are being made for the animal agriculture sector of our food system. Morgan's partner in crime is Emily Grund. And so Emily is one of our communication coordinators, and Emily is the social media guru and also our graphic design guru. So whether it's the modified background or the virtual background I have, or some of the social media posts that you see going out, or the designing of the annual report, those types of things. We love being able to send things to Emily and say, here, make this look good. And so Emily can do that. And she also, like Morgan, I know Lynn likes to, has learned that Morgan comes from a diversified livestock background, especially with boar goats. So I know that's what we all think of when we think of Morgan now. But Emily grew up showing Hereford cattle, and then she and her husband also are involved in his family's Galby operation. So we've got a good team member in Emily with her knowledge of animal agriculture. And then the newest member of our team is Cassie Aheron. Forgive me if sometimes I might mistakenly say Cassie Knievel, because that's what I grew up knowing her as, or she grew up and I knew her as that. But Cassie was recently married here in the last couple of years. Also a tremendous individual who's leading our membership development and retention activities. So making sure that whether it's you all as members, if you have questions about your membership or how to ideally take full advantage of your membership, or if you have those colleagues or friends that you want to refer, Cassie is our go-to person there. And I know she and Dr. Bull and Dr. Short and Linda have really been working here over the past several months to, as Kevin highlighted, think about how do we ensure that we have even a more robust roster of members that are coming to the table. So Cassie's the person that can really make sure that everyone is aware of how they can participate and be a leader within the National Institute for Animal Agriculture. And I guess there's a little theme going on here. Cassie's family also is, and she's been actively involved in both the commercial cow-calf operation and the Red Angus operation. And I always think it's rather interesting. Cassie's family has been a leader for some time. They have been feeding out their own cattle before that was the thing to do. And so Cassie brings a depth and breadth of knowledge that I hope you'll take full advantage of, just like Emily and Morgan do, and all of you do. So wanted to make sure you at least virtually have some faces to put with names. So when you see emails come across your inbox or phone calls, or if you need something, you know who to reach out to. So that's our team. I thought I would just, again, because for many of you, this may be the first time we've had this type of interaction. I want to go back to what we were talking about in terms of, our mission, and I don't want to over discuss, if you will, but maybe just finally underscore a little bit more of just how important that is to us. And Kevin alluded to the fact that the board gathered in a modified session beginning last October. It had been a while since our organization had gone through a strategic planning process. As my friend and journalist Jenny Latsky says, in the BC times, before COVID, we thought we were going to get together for the traditional retreat of coming in on an afternoon and enjoying a meal together in the evening and rolling our sleeves up the next morning to build a new strategic plan for the future. And then obviously COVID happened, as Chelsea said. March of 2020 is a month and time frame we'll all remember for a long time. But we had 5 of our board members sitting socially distanced around a conference room. Chelsea and her team at LMA were gracious enough to host us. We had 15 board members who called in, just like you are, on a Zoom meeting. And for 5 hours, they were all actively engaged. And as I shared in the annual report, I'm an analytical person. And so when I say actively engaged, that's not only qualitative information, but I have the quantitative data to back it up, because we were making tick marks of who was speaking up and asking questions or offering insights, just to make sure that we weren't losing folks, or did we need to take a break, or whatever the case might be. But for 5 hours, your board stayed completely engaged. And as someone who has had the pleasure of facilitating a number of meetings and strategic planning sessions, it's difficult enough to keep 5 people, or people in the same room, engaged for 5 full hours. But to keep a board engaged for 5 hours in a virtual setting really was a testament to me of the board's passion and dedication to ensuring that NIAA continues to be an organization that has a positive effect on the animal agriculture sector of our food system. So I wanted to publicly brag on our board for doing that, because I know they wouldn't do it themselves. So be assured, it's a great pleasure to work with all of our members, but we have a great leadership team in the board and what they're doing for the organization. As was mentioned, there are some new initiatives. And so I guess if I could sum up in closing our staff goals, if you will, for 2021 and beyond, it's to continue to build on the great successes that NIAA has had in its 20 plus years now of existence in its current form. Of course, the successes it had in its predecessor, the National Livestock Conservation Institute. We want to maintain the successes you all have built. But then, as Kevin mentioned, as we identify those new issues, whether that's innovation and technology in animal agriculture, or how we continue to develop the next generation of leaders within our space, we want to be the day in and day out folks who are doing that for you and for all of us within this space, because it's been rewarding. I think the annual conference conversations that we've had the last 3 days have really highlighted that maybe as important today as ever before is the need for a space where leaders from different species sectors or different value sectors of the supply chain can come together and talk about the issues that are affecting our sector. And how do we learn together? How do we collaborate? How do we derive solutions that are going to continue to not only allow us to stay on the plate, but to expand our presence on plates maybe where we're not yet on? Or how do we make sure and ensure that social license or that public trust in animal agriculture? So I, like many of you, I'm passionate about this sector, so I could go on and on and on, but I will sum it up by saying again, thank you, each of you, for your membership and your leadership, more importantly, because your participation in NIAA as a member, as a volunteer leader, as maybe an elected leader, as a council co-chair or a board member, that's what allows us to make sure that day in and day out, Cassie and Morgan and Emily and I are able to do what we do and what we enjoy doing. So thank you. And please, I'd be happy to answer any questions whenever Kevin deems that appropriate, but also please know, email us, text us, however you can get a hold of us. If there's anything we can ever do, please know that we're here to help you and support NIAA in any way possible. So Kevin, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, JJ, for that great update. And everyone, please keep in mind the annual report that was sent out. It gives a lot of great detail of the association and our mission, vision, and really a lot of the things that we talked about today. So, I encourage you, if you haven't yet looked at that, it's very, it's got really a good summary of who we're about and what our mission is. Any questions for JJ before we move on? We have time for one quick question. If not, we can move on, and we certainly can. You can certainly email, and as JJ suggested, he or his team, and keep the communication going. So thank you very much, JJ, for that update. Okay, we're going to move on now to the next topic on the agenda, and that is our installation of re-elected and newly elected board members with brief introductions. So our first board member, we have three that are being re-elected and have been re-elected, and then one new board member. So the first one is Dr. Karen Jordan, and we welcome her for another term. She's with Dairy Farmers of America, served over 34 years. Well, for over 34 years, she and her husband have owned and operated Brush Creek Swiss Farms in North Carolina, and they operate large animal veterinary services. I think out with most of her veterinary career focused on dairy health. Dr. Jordan and her husband are producer members, and with Dairy Farmers of America, she has served multiple volunteer leadership positions across the dairy and veterinary industries, both at the state and national levels, and still does today. Karen, would you like to make a comment or two?
Oh, Kevin, I should have let you know this sooner. Karen did have a conflict today, unfortunately,
Okay.
so she wasn't able to
Okay.
join us. But everybody
Right.
else should be here.
Okay, thank you. The second re-election is Dr. Lenny Pace, and from Mississippi State, and he holds an undergraduate and DVM degree, both from Mississippi State, and a PhD from Louisiana State. He served as diagnostic and academic appointments at Murray State and the University of Missouri, and currently is the Mississippi State University Executive Director for the Veterinary Research and Diagnostic Lab. Throughout his career, Dr. Pace has been active in many state and national associations related to veterinary medicine and animal agriculture, including NIAA. Dr. Pace, we welcome you for another term on the board. Would you like to make a comment or two?
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I've been active in NIAA since the name change from LCI to NIAA, so long time. And this is my second go around on the board. I'm really excited about the direction we're headed. I think this was one of the best meetings. I wish we could have met face to face, but it actually was a great meeting in the format that we held it. And I think it was some of the best content that we've had in a while in our meetings. So I appreciate the work of the other board members and all of the regular members in keeping the organization going, and look forward to a prosperous future for NIAA.
Thank you. That's really kind of you, Dr. Pace, and we do appreciate all you do for us, and it's so great having you continue on. Dr. Michael Short, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. He's, of course, Dr. Short serves as a state veterinarian and division director of animal industry at the Florida Department of Ag and Consumer Services. Prior to his appointment to this role in 2014, he worked in veterinary private practice and led the Florida Department of Ag's animal disease control efforts and served as the department's equine specialist. Dr. Short holds a bachelor's degree in business admin and a doctorate degree in veterinary medicine from the University of Florida. Dr. Short, would you like to say a couple of words to our audience?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you, Kevin. Just glad I can serve on NIAA. It's a great organization. I think we're on a really good trajectory. So thank you to all the board members and NIAA staff. Really good meeting. I enjoyed it tremendously. And so I just want to thank everyone that attended. And again, thank you to the board and NIAA staff.
Thank you. Great. We look forward to working with you again this term, and we're so glad that that you're on board as well. The next, we have a newly elected board member, Kelly Loganville, and Kelly is a marketing and communication professional with extensive experience in the agribusiness and food industry sectors. She's currently a public relations manager at Biden Marketing, and Kelly earned a bachelor's degree in ag communications from Oklahoma State and received her master's from in integrated marketing communications from the University of Kansas. So we welcome Kelly to the board, and we welcome you to address everyone and see for any comments that you'd like to add.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you guys so much. It's such an honor to be a part of this organization. We at Biden are very excited to be involved with NIAA, as we feel it's very important for us to have a link from the industry to the consumer, which is really the realm in which we work in, and then also from the consumer and the processing industry back to the industry. So this is a great opportunity. I look forward to working with all of you and meeting you all in person very soon.
Thank you, Kelly. Welcome on board. On board the board. Okay, outgoing board members. Todd Lowe, we're going to miss you from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. As Agriculture and Livestock Support Services Manager at the State of Hawaii Department of Ag, Todd Lowe leads the efforts to generate diversified agricultural solutions for moving Hawaii towards greater food self-sufficiency and fostering viable export industries. Todd has over 13 years of experience with the state of Hawaii in market development and program management, with additional experience in marketing and product development prior to joining the department. So we appreciate your years of service, Dr. Lowe. Would you like to make a few comments?
Oh, it's looking like Todd may have had to jump off.
Okay.
He was here.
And Todd, I'm sorry, Todd, you're not a doctor. I'm sorry for saying that. I don't believe you got a PhD or DVM. But Todd has been very experienced, very valuable board member, and always has great input. And if you can hear me, thanks to you for all of your work. Dr. Meeker from National Renderers. Dave Meeker's he's currently Senior Vice President at the National Renderers Association and Research Director for the Fats and Proteins Research Foundation. Previously served in scientific and management positions at the National Turkey Federation, the National Pork Producers Council, and was Director of the Board of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the National Academy of Sciences, and was also an associate professor at the Ohio State University. Over the past 3 decades, Dave has been an advisor to numerous governmental and professional and business organizations in the U.S. and internationally. Dr. Meeker, would you like to make a few comments?
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's been a great run. And like Lanny Pace, I think this completes my second run on the board. I've been involved with the organization since 1985 when I represented the National Pork Producers Council at the Livestock Conservation Institute. So 3 or 4 different management changes and a name change and a couple rebrandings, and still the organization thrives and is doing probably as well now as it ever has. And I agree with Lanny that this week's meeting was one of the very best. So congratulations to all of you.
Great. Thank you for those kind words, Dr. Meeker. We appreciate your service and wish you the very best. Dr. Neville Spear, where food comes from at IMI Global. Dr. Spear is based in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and serves as Director of Industry Relations for Where Food Comes From. Neville's extensive experience and involvement in the livestock and food industry, including various service and consultation projects, spanning issues such as market competition, animal ID, assessment of price and risk, and market volatility on the producer segment, and usage of antibiotics in animal agriculture. Dr. Spear, we appreciate your service and would like to offer a moment for your comments as well.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And I just appreciate the opportunity to have been able to contribute to NIAA. And I want to echo what everyone said. I think this meeting has been outstanding. And I really think it's a precursor and reflects the direction that NIAA is going. I think this organization is as in strong a position as it's ever been. And really looking forward to the things and the leadership that the organization can provide the industry going forward. So thank you, Kevin.
Well stated. Thank you again for all your time and your service, and we look forward to you continuing as a member and providing your great inputs. Now, as far as looking ahead for the remainder of 2021, oh, by the way, before I move on, does anybody have any comments or would like to offer any thoughts on the new or retiring board members?
Well, Kevin, if I may, I only have worked with each of you as retiring board members for 1 year, but we've sure appreciated all the counsel and guidance that you've provided us as we've moved through joining the organization, but then also a year of global pandemics. So we'll just echo the appreciation.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, I'd also extend a deep thank you to the exiting board members. They served as a great example for us to follow going forward, and they've made great contributions to the board, so as well as the organization and the industry. So thank you for all you've done and all you're still going to do. It's not like you're going to quit. So
You're here, especially for the last part.
And that's very nicely stated for both of you. And you probably just saw a chat from Morgan. She has the annual report link in the chat, so you probably have that by email too. So you have it fresh today to save to your computer.
Kevin, may I make one request real quick? Before we get too much further, this is, I guess, the thing to do in the virtual world. If everybody will turn your camera on for just a moment, we're going to grab a screen grab just as proof that we can convene all of us together in a virtual setting. So, it may seem corny now, but 20 years from now, when we're telling people how we had to meet virtually, well, they'll either laugh at the technology we were using or something. So if you have a camera that you can turn on or feel comfortable doing so, we'll ask you to do that. And I'm going to give it a couple more seconds to see if anybody else is coming on. And everybody smile really big. 1, 2, 3. It's done. Okay, Kevin, thank you for that. Now you can continue.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment on the incoming or retiring board members before we move on to the final topic? Okay, I appreciate everyone's kind comments along the way, and I will go back to our looking ahead, and then we'll have open discussion to follow that. But looking ahead, we do plan for the remainder of 2021 to have virtual council meetings, and those will be scheduled we'll keep moving those forward. And the 11th annual NIAA Antibiotic Symposium is scheduled for Kansas City, as you've all been told already or have seen, November 2nd through the 4th, 2021. Easy date for me to remember. Our son is turning 27 that day, the 2nd of November. And so as far as membership goes, we certainly encourage each of you to spread the word and about your great comments from this conference and today's discussion and your overview and summary of the impact that the conference had on you and on others, so we can encourage more people to join. And that recruiting, we've got, of course, staff that will help with that as well. So shoot that information. Is Morgan the best contact? Well, I'm sorry, the membership wise, we're shooting those to JJ and to
Cassie.
JJ.
Yep.
Yes, Cassie. I'm sorry, Cassie.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, if you need some assistance with that or any maybe suggested postings on LinkedIn or what have you, or an email, if you want to frame up an email, whatever works for you, you can certainly rely on Cassie to help with that. As far as the next part of our agenda today really is just open discussion. So JJ and myself will facilitate that, and we wanted to just give each of you time that would like to speak up and just maybe some thoughts about either today's conference, about increasing and growing membership, about our mission vision, just kind of in what your motivating reason is for being involved in NIAA and how that's been revved up in the recent year. So we will let JJ activate his mic and open this up now for each of you to offer your comments. JJ, would you like to say something else to supplement what I just want to just?
No, I mean, you said it well, Kevin. I thought we just wanted to put some time on the agenda and hear if there were questions or thoughts. Again, because we haven't been able to see each other in person, sometimes the things that might come up in a hallway conversation or you might think of at an in-person meeting that you want to shoot us an email about, those things haven't happened for the last year. So this is the time that we'd love to hear your questions or thoughts and make this a valuable time for you.
I guess I'll say something.
Please, Lucas.
I just want to, congratulate the organizing committee because I think this was a very, very interesting and timely meeting with this hot topic of, sustainability, ESG. I think personally, I learned a lot. I enjoy being involved as a, moderator, facilitator this morning. I think that the talks, and I really liked the panel discussions these 3 days, with bringing people from different areas, different sectors, and, what NIAA does best, bringing people to, in one setting to talk about these complex issues. So I think, as other members have mentioned, I think there's an opportunity and maybe a direction where the NIAA continue to grow in this area of sustainability and how we can improve or make the communications better. So really, really good.
Thank you. Well stated.
Kevin, this
Yes.
is Len. Can I make a comment?
Please do.
Two things. The rest of you who aren't involved are going to hear more about membership in the upcoming periods of time. Several of us are involved with Cassie's help and Michael's and others. We are going to increase the membership, and we're looking at it by going at the possibility of going by way of engaging the next generation of folks coming through the universities and colleges that have an interest in animal agriculture. And we've rounded up, as I say, a couple of my hopefully not former friends, Dave Ames and Dave Ames and Maynard Hoberg, who you both know. And we're going to be putting together probably 3 or 4 or whatever trial balloons to try out some ideas about engaging students, whether it's through student clubs and through faculty. But we hope out of that we'll get some membership of students and we'll increase the membership of our university colleagues as well. And the second thing I would add is not so positive. Most of you probably know that Tony Forsey's been dealing with cancer of the vocal cords. I've been following that with Jill on a Caring Bridge exchange of information on a daily basis. He's coming along now, but he's been at it now for about 5 weeks, and it was pretty touch and go for a while, but he's coming along well now. In fact, I heard yesterday that instead of having to go to what do you call it, a therapy location before going home, he's going to be able to go home from the hospital straight on. So that was a big deal. But anyway, if anybody's interested in that process, I can send the link to how to get in touch with it. You can just read it like a diary, because she's been doing a great job of keeping up with it. Anyway, we've been thinking about them pretty hard. Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Leonard. That's very kind of you to share that. We think the world of Tony, and just pray for his recovery. And feel free to send that out through the chat if you'd like, that link, and then we can.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll send the link, and you have to sign up for it, and you have to pay a little bit for it, but it's a nominal amount, and
Okay.
it gives you daily update.
And thank you for that, and also thank you for the vision and with your team on the membership and going after the new generation. And I think that's outstanding. What we've had some participation in the past. Just how do we bring them in? How do we maintain the next generations, and keep them, get them to the point where they can be sustainable within our association and provide their great input. Anyone else like to provide any comments before we close down today?
Yeah, I'd make a few comments, Kevin, if I could.
Sure.
First of all, I want to go back and congratulate, since Lynn, you reminded me of this, congratulate all the winners from our award ceremonies last night. For those that weren't involved, we did honor a group of individuals that were more than deserving to be rewarded from NIAA's standpoint, the Meritorious Service Award, the Chairman's Award, the President's Award, and the Advocate for Animal Agriculture. That's part of what NIAA does, to recognize people within the industry that have made contributions above and beyond. And so we really want those individuals involved in our organization. So as my challenge to you all, as the vice chair, incoming chair, is to really find those people and engage them to get involved in National Institute for Animal Agriculture. It is I've been involved for over 11 years now, not as long as Lanny or Leonard or Lynn. They've been here and I'm sure many others have been here quite a long time, but just the fact that we have the discussion about Tony Forsey, the community we have within the organization, the community we have within agriculture is essential, and National Institute for Animal Agriculture has been that table we've all been able to sit at in the past. And it will be in the future. So remember that value proposition as you talk to people that aren't members that need to be involved with the organization. Finally, I'll say again, thank you to Kevin and Roots and Legacies for the last year. They have done a phenomenal job, as well as the rest of the board membership. It's been one of those crazy years, and our goal is to be the National Institute for Animal Agriculture, and that involves all animal agriculture. So Todd is stepping off as a board member. I failed to mention his contribution from aquaculture. He was very big in bringing that into the discussion. So we thank him for that as having everyone at the table. And knowing that, my last statement I'll make is that there he is. Thank you, Todd. And if we can get everybody everybody at the table, all stakeholders involved, and everything moving in the right direction. A rising tide will float all boats, as they say, and that's what we create with momentum we have as an organization. So with that, Kevin, just a few closing thoughts from me, and I appreciate everything everyone's done for the year.
Thank you very much, Eric. We're very well stated. Great way to recognize some key participants and members that have really, and really what the association is about. So thank you so much. Anybody else like to contribute before we bring this to a close? Well, I want to thank you for today, for the last 3 days, for all the prep time and the follow-up time, and the engagement with members and councils and with the speakers, and just all the people that reached out to help really make this a success. We really appreciate everyone's contribution and look forward to us continuing our mission, vision, and moving forward in agriculture in the way that you've all heard and and we encourage you again to read the annual report to have a refresh of really what we're about and where we're headed. So with that, I'll turn it back over to JJ for any final comments, and then we will close out.
Oh, none from me other than just thank you.
Okay. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Kevin. Good job.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good job.
Good job, Kevin.
Thank you all.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.